Very well. So recording has started. I'll start the lecture. Please focus and concentrate. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And it's very important. And this is the core of your course. So today we'll talk about the classes and objects. Actually, the classes is a representation to an object. So I'll start here. First, let's define the objects. Now, in this lecture, we are going to cover how to write class, define the class behavior, and creating an object. So, objects and classes. The class is a programming structure that can be used to define an object. Of course, if the concept of OOP or object-oriented programming is that in programming we look to most of the things as objects. For example, the student, the employee, the person, the car, the computer, all these are objects. And it consists of the following parts: class, object name, attributes, and methods. All right. So for every objects we are going to define, we need to think about these three important things. Now, the attributes feature of the objects: methods, member, functions of the class, and operations or activities that can be done. So if we consider any objects, I think we have example next. Yeah. For example, this is example one. A student is an object. The class name, of course, I will write the object as class. Then I need to give it a name. I'll give it the name of student. Okay. By the way, usually we use this uppercase. Okay. It's not a rule, not mandatory, but this is, as I told you, there are some conventions the programmers have agreed on. Then here we put the attributes like string, name, okay, double, GPA, okay. These are the attributes of the objects. Then we have methods. The methods are any function that we can use within this class. So it might calculate average or get marks or any other operations can be done. Let's take another object, the car. All right, the object, the class, I'll call the name of the class as car. All right, and I'll open this parentheses, and not parentheses, braces. The class name might be car class, etc. As I told you, usually we prefer to use the first letter as capital letter, but it's not mandatory. All right. Now the attributes might be color, string, color, price. I think it's not integer. Yeah, it's integer. Price. Okay. Make, string, make, etc. Okay. Then the methods might be get max speed, get price, and etc. Okay. So in general, now we are talking about how to convert the object into a class or a programmer, a program in general. Give me more example about objects. Anybody has an idea what can be considered as an object? Let's see from the chat. Think about objects around you. Did you find any?
Any object?
Yes, Naji. Any object. What do you think?
Laptop, computers.
Laptop, computers, very good. What other objects? Okay, let's see, for example, the point. The point is an object. The shapes, like rectangle. Think about of a circle or something else. All right. Yes, Adra?
The phone.
Phone, yes, yes, of course. So anything can be considered as an object. Let's say if we take the phone, then the phone is an object with attributes like the memory size, like the whatever, the price, etc. Also, Naji said the laptop. The laptop also is an object, and the attributes are, for example, the price, the memory size, the capacity, the speed, etc. So anything can be considered as an object. Now, access specifiers, just let me put it down. Okay. Now, how to define the object? Okay. To define an object, I'll start with the keyword class, then object name. Okay, I'll start the object, and of course it is before the main. It has to be written before the main. Okay, here I'll add attributes like integer x. Okay, and methods like print x. Okay, and close the braces, braces, and end it with semicolon. This is very important. Okay. The only way where a semicolon comes after the end of the block is with the classes. This is very important. You have to remember this always. So let's try writing an object. Okay. Okay. So as you can see here, the first part of to write the object is to write the word class. Okay. Obj. Then enter. Okay. Here, for example, I'll add integer x. Okay. And close it and a semicolon. Of course, now I can use it. How to use it? I can use it like I define. If you remember in declaration, we used to write integer, double, float, etc. Now I can use it in the same way. Object, for example, b. I can access now. Now I can run it. Okay. Okay. Now no errors, but I have a warning here. Use the variable b. We declared, but we didn't use it. Now, how to access the members of that class? Of course, I use the dot operator. So I can write b dot anything inside the class. And by the way, this is wrong now. B dot x. Okay, so I can write, for example, cout b dot x. Now I'll get an error, and I'll tell you why. See, I got an error here. Is written like object x is private, and here error within the context. Okay, so here the error says the object is private. That's why I just shifted the slide of specifiers here. Okay, so I'll go back and tell you about the access specifiers. Mainly, there are three types of specifiers: public, private, and protected. By default, the specifiers are private. So if you go back here, it's telling you that the object or the attribute is private, and private cannot be accessed from outside the class. Okay, this is the most important thing that you need to remember. Private cannot be accessed from outside the class. Now I can see the rest of the things here. Public means can be accessed from outside the class. Private cannot be accessed from outside the class or from any other places other than the class itself. Protected can be accessed from the superclass and the derived class. This will be discussed later when we'll talk about inheritance. Okay, so I have now private and public. How to change this to become public? I write the keyword public and colon. All right, that means everything is public now. If I run it, okay, then I got no errors, and this is the value. Okay, so this is the main thing. Now we defined here, I will just put some comments here. Public specifiers accessed from outside class. All right, this is an attribute. Okay. Now I want methods, I want functions, so I can define inside the class functions, that methods or member functions that can do some processing. Okay, for example, here I'll define a function called void set x of integer n. In this function, all what I do is to put x equals n. Okay. This is a member function, or it's called also a method. All right, so when I call this, I can set a value for x. Next, I can also return the value, so I can define integer and not return, ret. If you can see now, we are talking about functions, which was covered in previous lectures. So here only return x. To make things, I think it's very long now. You can make it in one parenthesis, but all right, no worries. Okay, so here in object, I can access everything. To put the value of x, then I will put b dot. I can access any of these values. All right, let's think of set x. Okay, I can write here b dot set x of, here a text value, right? Set x of 5. Now I'll show you the execution. I can also, for example, put integer y equals. I can call the second function return x, retx equals, but always b dot read x. Now see out y. Y is 5. The output is 5. I'll explain it step by step now. Okay. So I'll take this part. I'll start from the class. Okay. Okay, let's just copy it. This is the class that we defined together. All right. So let's see every step of this class. So first of all, we defined a class of the name of the class is obj object. All right. Then inside here we defined the public. Not defined. We add the keyword public. Why? To give access to X and to set X and to RETX. All of these are public. All right. I don't know if I can. Yeah. Okay. All of these are public. So I can now define in the main function or in other classes also is possible. I can define obj like x1, okay, obj x2. You can define any number of variables of this class. This x1 and x2 called instance, or we call it objects. Exactly like when we were talking about integer x. All right, we used to declare it like this. Now, integer here in the class itself, we defined the attributes or the members, and we defined the member functions. This is also another member function, and in the main function now we just called it or we declared an object. I'll just take it again. All right, in the main function, I declared a variable b of type obj. Okay, b dot, when you write b dot, it will list all the public attributes and members. All right, for example, here b dot x is correct, b dot set x is correct, b dot RETX return X is correct also. Why? Because in the class we said all these things are public. Okay. Now if I change this, let me just share this with you first. Definition of the class. Okay, I'll put it in the presentation. So this is the definition of the class. Right? Talking about the specifiers here, we said, one second. Talking about the specifiers, we said we have public and private, and now we know the difference between the public and private specifier. Now I'll do some minor change, okay? Now if you can see here, I'll work only on the main function now. Object B, I'll define another object, obj b2, for example. Now I can say b2 dot x equals 90, which is correct. I can access the x. Nothing will be changed here. I can, for example, b dot x, b1, b2 dot x. It'll access directly the yes, it printed 90, all right, because this is the value that we give. So, but actually, I don't want anybody to be able to access the variables directly. I don't want them to be accessible. The variable, I mean the attributes, only via these functions. So what I'll do now, I'll do a simple change here. I'll take this public from here, put it to the function, okay? And here I'll put private. Now we have two things. First, the private X cannot be accessed from anywhere outside the class, only from the functions here, which are set X and return X. So this will be wrong. Now they'll get error. All right, I got error. Why? Because X now is a private. I cannot access it using the dot operator. Okay, now how to do this? I can use it using the set and get or return. By the way, just to make the program a bit shorter, so I'll do it like this. It's all right, no worries. All right, so this is what we got. We got private, which is not possible to be accessed from outside the class. And when I say outside the class, it means outside this block. Inside the block, X is accessible by all, by everything. All right, so I'll just also remove this. How to access this and how to change the value, this will be done by the function that we have. I have two functions here. I have set X and return X. So instead of doing this, I will change this. Okay, I can now b.set X of give it the value 4 or 90, and I can also integer y as we did before equal b dot return X of, and that's it. I got the value now, and see out b.x now is also wrong. Don't get confused. b.x still wrong, still error. I'll run it to show you, but let me just copy it just in case it froze. Okay, still error. Why? Because again, still I cannot access X. See? Instead, I can access it using y, which is b dot return X. Now this is y. Run. I think we have something error here. In function integer error, expected semicolon before integer. Here. The missing column is missing. All right. So simply, this is the idea of class. I'll share this with you also. I can put everything in. Okay. So this is the class and the code that we've written. Now let's see another example. Now, public, as we said, can be accessed directly from outside the class. Here is an example. We defined a class of the point class, okay, which has X and Y, and we can access them. Let's go and take this as an example to apply. So I'll define, I don't need this anymore. I'll define the point class. As we said, the point has attributes which are X and Y, right? So I'll define a point class. I write class point. I prefer to have it the capital P. Okay, nothing here. Then integer X and integer Y. That's it. The class is done. Now I can define points, but also there's an error if you noticed. I can define point P1, okay? I can say P1 dot X equals 8, P1 dot Y equals 7, and I'll run it and get errors. Here I got 2 errors. If you can read the error, in point X, in point, it means integer point X is private, and this is also as a private. Then how to solve this? I'll add public and column. Now it's okay. Okay, I got only one warning here saying that you defined P1, but you never used it. So why have you defined it? Which is all right. We are going to use it. Okay. Next. I can print them, by the way. Here, for example, and I can use them like print cout. Sorry. P1 dot X plus P1 dot Y. You can use them as integers. Okay, so 15. That means P1 dot X, which is 8, P1 dot Y. I can define another one like P1 and P2. Okay, and also here I'll put P1 P2 dot X equals 100, for example. P2 dot Y equals 20. Okay, I can use them any time. All right. Now, if you can see, now we defined type, user-defined type, which is called point, and I can add any operations here. So till now, I think this is the main idea of points. And remember, also I have done it several times till now that you cannot access private or protected variables from outside the class. Now, also, I'll share this with you. And I think it's already there. Let's see the presentation. Yeah, public integer X and integer Y, integer point P1 equal 5. The coordinates of the point is P dot X. And now I can, let me just add, here we'll see private. Let's explain this. And the private attributes and methods can be accessed from the method, from the methods inside the class only. So if you can see here, I have private X and Y. When I executed this, I got these errors, which means that you cannot access them. Private specifier can be accessed by member methods by the class. That's why we can create, see here private. I'll show it to you. Let me just enlarge it. Okay. Here I have private X and Y, but I have public function or method. This can be accessed, set coordinate can be accessed from outside the class, while these things cannot be accessed from outside. All right. How to access this? That means if they cannot be accessed, then what's the use of having them? The use of having them that they can be accessed from public methods, which are here. Okay, so I defined two: print coordinate and set coordinate. Okay, let's do it practically. I'll go back to the program. Okay, and see, I'll change them back to public, to private. By the way, even if I didn't write private, they are private. Okay, now again, I'll get errors. I'll go to my error, to the error that we already discussed. Right, so here, if I run it, I'll get error, okay, that these are private. Again, how to solve this issue? I'll generate or write a public method like set, set point, right, of integer a, integer b. Intentionally, I gave it a and b. You can use the same. Now, what's the return value of this? Of course, it will not return any value, so I'll make it void. Here, instead of writing it, or I'll do it like this: x equals a, comma, y equals b, another comma, a semicolon, sorry, and that's it. This is the method. Now, since we've written this, we can add, put it in one. You know, I'm struggling with the space because if I make it smaller, you will not be able to see it. Can you see it now? Is it okay if it's like this, or no?
Yes, Mr. Clear.
All right, perfect. If it's like this, then I need more space. Okay, so now I can access x and y from set point. Also, I can access them by another public. No need to write public because everything below is public. Okay, integer x, get x, okay, which returns x, and integer get y, this returns return y. Okay. Of course, I've written like this just to maintain the space. So you can write it like this. It's the same thing, but as I told you, I need the space. Now I have three publics. Who can tell me why I didn't write a function like? Because in setting we set the value a and b, x and y. Why don't we, for example, get point, in which I can get return x, comma, and return y, semicolon. Who can tell me why this is not possible? Why when I set the values, the point, I gave x and y, but when I returned everyone separately. You know why? Because it's not possible to have to return more than one value from a function. In a function, I can return only one value. So this is wrong. This is an error. Okay. All right. So we have it now like this. Let's just sorry. Okay. Let's execute it. All right. What we have here? Still here in the main function. Okay, still I didn't use them, so I can say p1 dot set point. Right? This is the function set point of, give the 7 and 8. That means I'll call the function set point to this object, and it will go there, give x 7 and y 8. If I get, for example, the value C out P1 dot get x of we don't have things. Let's see what will it print. It print 7. Okay. That means I can now access these, but I cannot access them directly. I cannot write, for example, p.x because it's error. I can access them via these functions. So I'll review this with you. All right, it's already there. Okay, so here, if you can see, we have private x, we have set, and we have print coordinate, which prints the coordinates. All right. Protected type. This until now we talked about public and private. Now we talk about protected. Can be accessed by class itself and the derived class when inheritance feature from the superclass. When inherited, we'll talk about the inheritance later. Okay, and now keep it in your mind that there's a protected specifier which will be discussed later. All right. Now constructors. The constructor now is a public function. A public member method has the same name as the class name. This is the second important point. Usually used to initialize the instance of the class. Now, if you can see here, I'll explain this and I'll go back and write it. Now I have private X, private Y, and I have here in public, I have a function, a method. The name is exactly the same name as the class, and it returns no value here. It's not possible to be integer or double or float, etc. Okay, there's no value here, just point of integer x1, integer y1. Inside, I will write x equal x1, y equal y1. In the main function here, when you declare a point, you can write point p1 equal point of, you can call it directly. That's why I called a constructor. That means I'll give 5, 7, it will go directly to the variable. I can declare another value. So, and the most important thing of the constructors is a public member function, has the same name, and usually used to initialize. Let's implement this. Now suppose that I don't have these functions. I remove this. So since the class name is point, I will use the same class name. Okay. What I want to do here, for example, I print some message or anything. Let's see. I don't know, maybe I'll get error, but let's try it. See out. Welcome. Let's define P1. Equals point of and semicolon, and let's run it. Okay, so see, I defined here point P1 equal point. Okay, it will go directly to the class and to execute this function directly. Okay, of course, intentionally I just put cout welcome. Usually we initialize the class. So how to initialize the class? Initialization of the class is to give values to x and y. So instead of writing welcome, okay, I will pass argument integer x1, for example, integer x2. Okay, and here I'll write x1, x equal x1 and y equals y1. This is the initialization. All right. It will not now when I define here, I'll get error. Why? Because I have to pass arguments here. All right. Let's run. See, these are the error. Why? Because this function needs arguments. I will pass 19 and 10. Okay. That means, see the execution, how the execution will happen. The execution will be like this. First, I'll tell the computer that I'm going to declare or define an object P1, its name is P1, of type point and initialize it with 19 and 10. Then the computer will go there to the class and see that there's a constructor. It passed 19 here and 10 here. Execute this constructor, x equal x1, then x will be here and y x2. No, I've got an error here also. This should be y1. Okay, so y1 will, which is 10, will be here. So it will define here y1. Nobody corrected me. Okay. I think we got the same error every time. You can find another one. I think programs is good. Okay. So here we will just print, copy and paste the code. Okay. As I told you, P1 will pass 19 and 10 here, and we got this run. Okay. It's run now, but we didn't print anything. Okay. Now, if I want to get the values, I mean to read the values x and y, anybody can tell me what should I do? Of course, it's impossible to access x and y and check the values. So here I can, for example, define another function, which is, as we said, as we did before, integer get x of, which is return x semicolon, and integer get y, here also return y, and that's it. Okay, I can access now x and y through this C++. All right, through this function. So I can write cout get x. It will give me the value of x. Get 1 second. Get x is not declared. Oh yes, because it's not a get x. It's p1 dot get x. All right, so I got 19. All right, so I'll share this with you. I think we are at the end of the class. All right, I'll stop recording now and share the